Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shane. I run the events over at 10 Capital Network. We have another great event for you today, how AI is impacting e-commerce. If you have any questions throughout the session, please go ahead and put those in our chat box and we'll get to them if we can. We'll also have a poll at the end of the session, so be sure to answer that. With that, I'm going to bring up our CEO, Hall Martin, to get everybody introduced and get the event kicked off.
Great. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We have a great presentation here from Jon Hausam of OneBridge on how AI is impacting e-commerce. And with us, we also have Paul Glass of Sedex, who will also be giving a presentation about the company and their involvement in that space as well. With that, let's go ahead and turn it over to Jon first. Jon, if you could, go ahead and launch your slides and tell us a little bit about yourself before we launch into the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Jon Hausam. I'm the president of OneBridge. And we are, let's see here, I can even pop into that. So we're a retail and e-commerce agency here in the Twin Cities. We focus on Best Buy, Target, and Amazon. And I run our Amazon business. I've managed brands at some of the biggest retailers for 20 plus years and have been really focused on Amazon for the last 8 years. And our goal, especially on the Amazon side with OneBridge, is to really focus and help brands grow their business on Amazon. It's a very complicated platform. And our services are full service, everything management of their entire brand, as well as consulting and just helping them beyond being an Amazon expert. I think that's one of the things that we bring to the table with our business and working with brands at retail for so many years. We're able to bring a different aspect to the business than a lot of other agencies do. So I'm excited to talk to you today about how, there we go. So how AI is impacting e-commerce. We're obviously gonna be very focused on Amazon, but before we jump into that, I just thought it'd be really interesting to ask the question to AI and see what that response is, right? So how is AI impacting e-commerce? Of course, we reached out to our friends over at ChatGPT, and it was an interesting response that came up. And I'm not going to go through all this, but what was interesting about it, there was 14 plus areas that they talk about how AI is influencing e-commerce. And each one of those actually had a paragraph as well. So if you've ever played around with ChatGPT or another type of AI program, it's pretty impressive what it spits out. And actually, I will say this last piece because this is pretty interesting. So overall, AI is transforming the e-commerce landscape by improving customer experiences, increasing operational efficiency, and helping businesses make data-driven decisions to stay competitive in a rapidly evolving industry. It's great. That's a great response there. And that's my presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions? If only it was that easy, right? So the Amazon and AI. So what we're going to dig into here is we're going to talk about generally about Amazon, how they utilize it both on their consumer side as well as on the seller side. So as we jump into this, let me take you through a few things first. So Amazon internally, just even the core of how they work, they really use this process, this flywheel strategy where everything is either AI, machine learning, and they're continually improving upon it. And they share that across the company. They share it across all their different verticals. They really want to just keep driving momentum, utilize what they've learned, conserve energy between the teams and really, drive that across them internally. But then that also flows out into how they work with customers and sellers and vendors as well. So Amazon itself is a very unique, from the consumer standpoint, you're all probably familiar with it, right? And how AI is being used in that space with personalized product recommendations. You're probably very familiar with this when you are, most likely experience that when you're either on the app or in an email that you got post follow-up from being on Amazon, or even just in the website. You're constantly getting information about, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so they're taking those previous purchases, your browsing history, and they're putting that together to reach out to you because they want to increase that customer engagement. They want to drive more sales and loyalty, and that's an important piece for them. And you've really experienced this if you have an Alexa device in your home or in your office, or say someone comes over who has cats. You don't have cats, and then the next day your feed has cat products in it. simple example, but there's a lot of things that they're doing there, which is pretty interesting. One that which we love, and I think as consumers as well as sellers into Amazon, is how they're utilizing it in supply chain optimization. This is pretty amazing when the system can predict where the orders are going to come from geographically, and then they move that inventory to be closer to the consumer even before they've bought the product. It's a pretty impressive process. And as we see that, as we ship product in with vendors, and then we see how it gets sold through, it's a remarkable event that keeps them getting that same day, 1 day, 2 day shipping, which is pretty remarkable. Obviously, fraud detection is a high level way that, you know, we're all very familiar with if you've been online in the last 10 years, you know, from consumers' fraudulent activity to fraudulent listings to even counterfeit sellers. It's a significant issue on Amazon. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes and how they're working in that. And then customer service. This is probably one of the best areas, right? As we said before, it starts with Alexa, but you as a consumer, as you have an issue and you're responding to a problem, more often than not, your initial response with customer service is going to be an AI chatbot. And it's a really impressive system if you've ever used it. And even for us as sellers into the platform, and there's multitudes of issues we could have, most of the time we do get a chatbot that we're responding to. And it's very frustrating sometimes because it's not relevant to what we're working on. So you have to be pretty diligent on that. But if they've got, you know, hundreds of millions of customers on a daily basis, they've got millions of sellers, you can imagine the customer service nightmare on a daily basis. So they need it out of necessity just to handle the volume, but they also want to make sure what is the most important thing for them is customer service. The customer comes first, and they want to make sure that they're taking complete advantage of that as well. Some other areas, you know, image and video analysis. This is as the world is living on their phones and mobile devices, and everything we're doing is video and image and less copy. You know, accuracy is important for how they're working on it. They can remove inappropriate content. They can read images, right? AI will read the image for text, but it can also read an image for offensive content. And that's a pretty impressive tool as well. And they also have just, you know, there's many other areas they will utilize AI to improve their efficiency, and they want to just reduce the downtime across the board. So what we want to transition is how we utilize it as a brand protector, as someone who is working with clients on Amazon, where we're maneuvering them through the maze. And so before we do that, I just need to make sure we're all on the same page. Just a little bit of background. So Amazon as a company, Amazon.com, they're not a retailer, right? They're really a platform for buyers and sellers to come together. They do it better than anyone. They have efficiencies better than anyone. They can deliver that solution that a customer is looking for from a seller better than anyone. But yes, they did start off buying and selling. They are the number 2 retailer behind Walmart, and their business has changed significantly. So if you look at 10 years ago, the majority of their business was coming from their buy and sell side, the Amazon Vendor Central, where they would, you know, buy the product, take ownership, and then resell it. Today, 60% of their business comes from their Amazon Seller Central platform, which is the marketplace side, where, you know, someone like Setex Technologies is, you know, it's sold by Sedex, fulfilled by Amazon. Many people don't realize that the difference there. They say, I'm a Prime member. It says it's coming either today or tomorrow. It's Prime. I don't care. But when you have 60% of the business coming from sellers, and that's 8 times more than it was even 10 years ago, it's an amazing number and how that's moving. So what happens is it gets very crowded on there. There's 10 million sellers globally. There's 2 million on average on a daily basis that are active. Half those are in the US. So as we're competing in this space and trying to get share and trying to get visibility to these customers, it's becoming more and more difficult. And then hence the need why the AI tools are becoming so important. Fun fact there, less than 3%. It's usually been around 1%, but I've seen the numbers bounce around recently. But less than 3% of sellers will generate over $1 million in annual revenue, which is a pretty staggering number considering how big it is. I kind of like to throw out the popcorn analysis where Amazon said, well, we sell millions and millions of units of popcorn every month. Well, okay, great. Give us an example of one of your top sellers. Yeah. It's not like retail where there's 20 or 30. No, they're like, we have 3,000 people selling popcorn. So that's the issue, is how do you rise to the top? How do you become the top in your category and get noticed and really get in front of the customer? And that's where we have to spend our time. So what's happened, there's been this big transition as the selling marketplace has become more and more a bigger chunk of the business. Amazon said, we can't manage these accounts. We need to move them out of Vendor Central, give everyone the tools. So the good news is that 95% of your success on Amazon is in your control. The bad news is that 95% of your success on Amazon is in your control. And if you don't understand the levers, how to pull them, how it affects the algorithm, you can lose money very quickly, and it's a very difficult platform to succeed. It is by design very self-service. It's super easy to get on and start doing things. They got massive university, Amazon University, to teach people how to do stuff. We do this every single day. Our team learns something new every single day. I just don't know how you could be on Amazon without a guide or an expert and be successful. It's just not a reality. So back again, the pressure's on us. How do we perform and make sure that our clients are succeeding very well? So the algorithm, which is a huge machine learning AI component, it's so advanced. The only way to really succeed is you have to play by its rules. The days of seeding reviews, cheating the system, trying to cheat the algorithm, artificially improving your rankings, those days are gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. And you have to really earn your rank. And so that means you need to have an arsenal of tools to compete against millions of sellers in that same category. So this is the most important piece for us as we're digging into the success piece. And we're assuming that, you know, the customer experience, what you need to do to get your brand presented properly on Amazon, all your listings, all of that, we're kind of take it from the standpoint of the assumption is that that's kind of best in class. You've done everything, you've pulled every lever Amazon wants you to. You're utilizing every tool from video to A+ content, advertising, the brand store, all the things they've given you, you're utilizing that, but where do you go from there? So the great thing is every single thing we do on Amazon is measurable. And the thing that's incredible for us now, and even in the last 6 months, we'll talk about this in just a moment, the AI tools that are available to give us the data in a way that we've just never been able to do it before is just remarkable. So obviously there's tremendous reporting programs and you could pull the data. I think there's 55 API data feeds now for sellers for every single aspect of the business. AI works in that's not where it's impressive though. Where it's impressive is it bolts onto Amazon. It actually is watching every single thing that's happening on a daily basis. I'm still not exactly sure how it happens, but it is remarkable where that tool now can give us market intelligence about what the category is doing. What are the trends in the category? What are our competitors doing? How is Amazon rewarding traffic to our competitors or to us? And what it does is it allows us to start building strategies that allow us to beat the competition. So for example, you know, if someone types in their issue into the search bar, you know, glasses are sliding down my face, or if I'm running, my glasses, you know, slide, or I need eyeglass nose pads or anti-slip. What we're competing for is how is Amazon driving traffic to those solutions, to the different products, and how are they presenting themselves? Because Amazon wants to make sure that what they're doing is they're putting the best, sorry about that, gotta love Zoom. All things. They're trying to put the best possible solution for the customer to convert on. And if you know where Amazon's sending that traffic, what your competitors are doing, it just gives you an incredible leg up. So this is an area where we have been utilizing the last 6 months, a new tool far beyond what we were using before, that it's revealing to us and it's predicting trends, and we're creating really data-driven strategies. And everything we can do, we could turn it into data and then create solutions around that. And so success is just really about beating that competition. And one of the key areas that we work on is really understanding what the customer is searching for. So I'm going to use customer search term and keyword interchangeably. So the customer puts in a search term, we have keywords that are trying to map up and identify with those, but they're kind of used interchangeably. But if we're able to take and understand now, not only what our share of voice is on a daily basis, we can even find out on an hourly basis for the set of keywords that might be the high volume keywords in a particular category, or maybe we're not indexing against those. So we need to learn how to index against those and drive traffic. We're able to look at it and build a strategy to the hour during the day and change our bidding process on our advertising to make sure that we're bidding properly. Kind of think of it as, if someone's home, we want the lights on. If they're not home, we don't want the lights on. So we want to be spending when our customer is there, not when they're not. And this is an incredible new tool that has allowed us to do that. And I'll show you some of the results here in just a moment. The other side of the advertising piece, your ranking, is also the organic. And this is the beautiful thing about Amazon, is for every dollar you spend, yes, return on ad spend is important, and that's a great metric that we track. I'm more concerned with, what did we spend and what was our overall business? Because Amazon, what they do is that they understand how you're spending and how you're driving traffic to your advertised listing. If that converts well and it continues to convert, they take your organic listing and start boosting it up. So you want to be in the top, 5 on a search page. So you want to make sure that your organic listing is there, because that's free. We're not paying for that. And that's just an incredible way to do that. And I actually have another model here I'll show you in a second. But what this does, it just allows us to have a much better, more efficient spend than we ever have. We're able to drive greater conversion, drive more growth top line by spending less, or spending in a much better way. And as our clients are things are getting tough, the economy is more and more difficult, it's on us to make sure that we are utilizing every tool to be able to succeed with these clients on this crazy platform. So this is just, I won't go through this in super detail, but this kind of our flywheel effect, which really is, as we spend advertising, we get more traffic, we make sure that we convert that traffic, and then we basically start learning more and more as that goes on. So we become more efficient in our spend. So we spend more, we increase sales, we get more reviews, more ranking. And then what happens is Amazon starts boosting those organic rankings. So it's this constant process of understanding where our customer is, where they're at in the funnel, specifically designing strategy to go after that customer wherever they are. And Amazon's a platform that just does that unlike any other and allows us to be incredibly successful. So when you look at that momentum, it's everything. And think about if you're a marathoner or some athlete, and you spend 3 to 4 or 5 months working out, and then you take off 2 weeks, you drop back significantly. Amazon's the same way. If you are out of stock, or you're not paying attention to the competition, or things have changed where you might be delisted, or there may be some other issue you're not paying attention to, and you lose that momentum, you just drop off significantly. And the competition is so fierce, there's so many options behind you that Amazon could just continue to reward that traffic to your competitors. And it's just so much more difficult to get that back, especially when you're spending a lot of money acquiring those customers, that long-term value. And if you bring them in and then you lose them, it's hard to gain that back. So for us, from how we approach that, the AI tools that are available now are so remarkable that there's not one aspect of the business to the smallest level that we just can't evaluate and look at those metrics and make decisions on. So here's an example, some real numbers of a very mature business that's been on Amazon for more than 10 years. We've been working with them for a little over 4 years. And in January of this year, they were doing very well. We had a great system. We had utilizing old AI tools. They were still in a very good position. So, sales just under 900,000. Their advertising spend against their total revenues, roughly 18%. They had decent return on their ad spend. And then just 6-7 months later, after I think March was kind of the transition, there were some outliers that allowed their sales to jump up 50%. But the important element of this is we were able to still, by spending more efficiently, understanding share of voice through all the top keywords on a daily basis, we were able to determine that we actually spent less, had a significantly higher percentage of organic sales, which is much more profitable. So the end result is, by utilizing AI and not just, but really embracing it in a way and understanding how it bolts onto the system, tells you things that I would need a team of 50 people to do, and I probably wouldn't do a quarter of what it's able to do. We have that at our fingertips now. So this is a perfect example of, we were doing well before. By advancing to the next level of AI, it's helped us be that much more efficient. And just to wrap up here, there's many other AI tools that Amazon does utilize. Last week, they had a big announcement across the board. They're actually generating content for product pages. So you can just say, here's the product of or the title of my product, or one or two features, and they'll create an entire product detail page for you. Now, that scares me a little bit, because they're doing it for us, they're doing it for our competitors. How do we make sure that our key differentiation, our technology, all those things that set us apart are being addressed? So it's an incredible tool, but it still needs a lot of our involvement and a lot of direction there. But truly amazing. We're having a lot of fun with it, and I think we're just scratching the surface. We're going to see over the next probably 12 to 18 months significantly more advancements with how those tools are replacing, not necessarily replacing bodies, but they're allowing us to do things we've never been able to do. And it's just been a remarkable journey to see it happen. So it's been fun to be a part of that. And that's kind of what I have here for the AI on Amazon, and hopefully willing to take questions. And kind of went through a lot there, but it's wild.
Great, John. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat box. John, my first question is, I've worked in CPG for many years, and it used to be you just had to have a good product. Then you had to have a good product with a brand. And then later, it seemed like you had to have a product with a brand with a network of users that would rally around it. And it seems like now we're layering data on top of that to be successful. What's your take on that?
That actually, the first part of your statement's true. And I think what we're seeing differently than we ever have, brand to the customer is less important. If you create a product that solves their problem, and it solves their problem in a way that has an incredible experience, brand and price become less and less important. So that's one of the pieces. But then, yes, if you take, traditional CPG plus all these products, and then you start throwing, AI on top of that, I just think the simple response to it is competition has always been incredibly fierce. What it's doing, I think what AI is doing now is allowing the market to be a little bit more even, where, right, take Tide, for example, right? Classic CPG. I think their marketing budget is bigger than the next competitor's revenue. So it's like, how do you compete in those spaces? And I think by having the data, understanding customer trends, understanding retail trends, companies are going to be able to be a lot more innovative in how they compete, and how the smaller companies can compete with the larger companies. And I think the net result is the customer is going to win in getting a much better experience and better product.
So you're saying brands going down, and so to be competitive, you just have to have a better product, better service, better reviews, better everything. And so it's more of a meritocracy now with AI, because AI can go and look at that. Is that what you're saying?
I'd say especially on a platform like Amazon, it's a little different. I think when you're physically standing inside a Target or a Walmart or a Costco or other retail, that doesn't play out as much. But if you're purely talking about an e-commerce avenue, yes, I would say that is a very good statement.
So how does one train their system for it, in the sense that you're just trying to get better reviews or get a better price? What proactively can the user actually do in these cases to make it better?
Are you referring to like the vendor, the seller to the customer, you mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well, here's a perfect example. Sedex, our partner here, we went into a category where we were at least 50% higher price point than the rest of the entire market. But because of how we were able to tell the story, talk about the technology, showcase to the customer why this solution is going to change their lives, we not only have taken up significant market share, and we're like always in the top 2 to 3 in the category. We've moved the entire market up. Everyone's trying to, come after and copy what we're doing. We didn't have a brand. We had a solution that was amazing, that once we got that across, and if you look at, Amazon is a perfect example where you could build that brand, build a relationship with a customer you just can't do elsewhere. And then you have all these other tools to help you along that process. It's an amazing way to launch a product, show that you can compete. And then if you wanted to head into retail at some point, you now have all the data against the competition, how you're doing in the industry. And it's really, it's an incredible pathway for many companies that just get turned away. I say that because we deal with Best Buy and Target, and 80% of what we take in gets rejected. And we know what they're looking for. They trust us as partners. It's just, there's only so much they can do with brick and mortar.
Well, in the early days of Google, it was about search and having the right search terms. And if you had the right search terms, you rose up. And it sounds like AI takes it to the next level, where you have to have a lot more data points, value propositions that are available to the network to be able to rank you higher. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. And I'd say actually Amazon's very similar in how they approached it, like Google. The difference is Google's going to put up a search result for what they're expecting someone to click on, where Amazon's going to put up a search result where they believe this person will convert on. And that's a big distinction, especially when 65, I think, or 70% of product searches originate on Amazon now, not on Google. But yeah, that's a great statement. It's search terms. Let me back up. Like we said before, where things have changed on Amazon, title stuffing, bullet point stuffing, putting all these keywords to get recognized by the algorithm, that just doesn't work, right? They're looking at the customer experience as much as, are you pulling the levers, what they could see from their side. So they're like, we want to make sure that customer is going to have the best experience, and they're not going to read paragraph bullet points because you've shoved every relevant keyword that you think is in there. It just doesn't work that way anymore.
Right. I find a lot of startup pitches, they have a lot of great value propositions, but only half of them are actually in the deck itself. And we spend our time trying to get all the value propositions out there for people to look at. Is that the same analogy here with somebody with a product, just trying to get all the value propositions written down, documented, in, available to be used to give it credit for it? Is that part of the issue?
Yeah, I think that's where people start, and you would expect that that'd be a good starting point. The difference is it's really understanding what the algorithm is rewarding traffic to. So it's, how do we take our value proposition, understand what Amazon is directing traffic in this category where people are saying, here's what my need is through search terms. And it's kind of trying to now marry those two up, because many times what you think is important, well, these are the search terms we should use, or here's the value proposition. It has to be relevant to what Amazon's driving traffic to. So in a very simple way, we're basically trying to line jump our products over everyone else based upon the ranking of what Amazon is rewarding traffic to. So if we could figure out how to get ahead of everyone else, but yeah, the customer experience, you can only do that so much. You have to be able to convert the customer. So if you drive traffic and you don't convert, then you're not going to gain ranking. So it's a pretty extensive game of what's working, what's not working, where do we put more gas down, where do we pull back? But again, because you have a platform that you can measure every single thing you do, you just have to be that much into it. This is where enters AI. It just allows you to do that much more and be that much more efficient.
Right. My last question is, as we saw with Google in the past, from time to time, they would change the algorithm and then all the rankings would change. What do you see as the issue here with AI doing the same thing, making ranking based on various parameters? And at some point, maybe the algorithm changes and therefore everything gets re-ranked versus nothing changed on the user side. What are the issues there you see? You think it's going to change more often? You think it's going to change more democratically? Or do you think it's going to be like it was before?
Yeah, that is a great question. My initial response would be no. I think that it's matured to a point where it understands, again, it's all about the customer. what the customer is looking for, what those habits are. I think they have refined that incredibly well. I think where AI is going to really come in and change things is as people are leaving retail and going more into e-commerce, it's just getting more and more crowded. So it's how do you get even more recognized in an even more crowded field? And I do think that AI is going to help with that, but it's also going to level the playing field. So we're already seeing, other companies looking at it going, well, that's great. So everything's risen. How do we then, what are we going to do to get above that and keep driving our products higher up in the algorithm? I don't think you're going to see a reset. I think we're past Amazon resetting the algorithm. This is like the A9 algorithm. I don't think we're going to see that, but yeah, it's going to continually be modified as I do think that you're going to see a lot more potentially issues with AI because someone's going to create something that looks amazing and it's just terrible. But if people don't convert, or if they buy it and they return it and they hate it, I mean, Amazon is literally now putting on product detail pages. This product is being returned at a much higher rate than competitors. So there's ways that they're able to address that. But yeah, at the end of the day, make sure what we allow our clients to do is spend their time doing what they do best, figure out how to solve a problem for the customer, and then we'll make sure that we get that on to Amazon and get you in front of the right customer.
Great. Well, thanks. Thanks for the great presentation. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we can monitor it during the next presentation. With that, let's bring up Paul Glass of Setex Technologies. Paul, if you could introduce yourself and launch your slides. Love to hear more about how Sedex is engaging in this space as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Paul, for having us. And John, thank you for the great presentation as well. So my name is Paul Glass. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Setex Technologies. And I've worked in this space and developing materials which leverage the qualities in gecko lizards, which let them climb up walls and stick to ceilings. And we've developed those into a wide range of consumer products. So I've been in this space for over a decade, going back to my PhD in biomedical engineering from Carnegie Mellon University here in Pittsburgh, where we spun out from. So I've been looking at gecko lizards and what makes them sticky and grippy for more time. When I close my eyes, I see gecko lizards in my sleep. So yeah, I'm very, very happy to be here and talking more about our fundraising opportunity. So just so everyone understands how geckos work, here's our friend, the gecko on the screen here. He's hanging with a single toe pad in contact with a piece of glass. And if you look at a gecko's toe under magnification, there's millions of these little hairs on a gecko's hair. It's very similar to our hair. They're not tacky or oily or otherwise sticky in the way we think of things being sticky, but they're really, really small. And each one of those gecko toe hairs branches off into thousands of little nano hairs. And when the gecko puts its feet up in contact with the surface, all of those little nano hairs, they bend, they conform, they adapt to surface roughness at such a short distance that you get intermolecular attractive forces between those gecko tips and the underlying surface. And if you get enough of those points of contact, you can get a really significantly strong, adhesive, grippy system. And we've leveraged those qualities and integrated them into a wide range of consumer products to address customers' needs in a wide number of segments. So our company is based here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're generating significant revenue now from our gecko adhesive platform. We have about a $4 million run rate. It's on the back of a deep IP portfolio, over 20 patents. And we're very proud that we're making and shipping everything right here from our headquarters in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so we're raising right now a $1 million equity round to take us to our next level of growth. And I'll talk more about that. So what problems are we solving? There's a universal need out there for improved grip and performance. So many of us, myself included, wear glasses. Tons of people out there have wireless earbuds. And we all know glasses and earbuds can slip. They can be uncomfortable. We have to wear them throughout the course of the day. We wear them in the summer. We wear them when we're active. And they don't always work well. And then there's athletes, whether you're amateur, professional, who are always looking for better equipment to give themselves an edge and improve their performance. So we have solutions that can touch on all of those issues. There's over 1 billion eyeglass frames in the market that don't have integrated nose pads that need a better way to be retained. Over 300 million wireless earbud users now, over 500 million console gamers, and over 2 billion users of racket sports, bat sports, and bicycles who are out there right now with suboptimal gripping solutions. If we look at our average product selling price in the $10 to $20 range, it's a $43 billion addressable market for products like ours. And so I talked about the gecko biomimicry. We've developed methods that are adapted from the semiconductor manufacturing industry to create our own proprietary tooling. Some of those are visualized on the top row here of this slide. But then we can integrate that tooling into conventional molding tool surfaces. So, for example, very conventional injection molding tools, compression molding tools, liquid silicone rubber tools, we can modify conventional tool surfaces to have the negative of the gecko-inspired microstructure, so that when very conventional resins, untrained operators, and very conventional presses are used to make parts in this tooling, it'll come out with our gecko-inspired microstructure. So we do our own converting process, packaging in-house, and we can take these materials into a wide range of consumer products. So this is all patented and protected here by maintaining control of these processes in-house. If you look at our products under a microscope, you can see that each one of them is made of these gecko-inspired microstructures. So, for example, a single glasses nose pad has thousands of mushroom-tipped microstructures that provide really soft and comfortable contact with skin. They're almost velvety to the touch. And that softness provides a really excellent grip to wet and sweaty skin. And so there's a video here of our fibers under a microscope being moved across a synthetic skin surface. So you can almost see that softness, they bend, they adapt, and they provide really excellent grip, especially when skin gets wet, when it gets oily, when it gets sweaty. So if you look at the data on the right side of the slide here, you can see the friction of our product to dry skin, and our product is shown in red, and a similar material with no microstructures is shown in black. You can see that against dry skin, we have about a 40% performance enhancement in terms of grip. But when skin gets wetty, when it gets oily, we have about a 250% improvement in the grip. And that's the difference between your glasses slipping down your nose all day, if you're on a job site, if you're in the garden, or just having them stay nice and secure. It's really a technology difference that you can feel. So behind that technology difference, in early 2020, we launched our first consumer product on Amazon, working with Jon Hausam and his team at OneBridge. And so what we did is we came in to a category, and Jon alluded to this in his presentation, but even though this was a category that had a number of products in there, almost everything was kind of a commodity, low-cost product. We came in with premium pricing. We had a cool technology story made in the USA, and we had all of that reflected in our branding, in our packaging, and we very quickly had a lot of success. So right now we have over 20 SKUs in the eyewear space. We've also branched out into other verticals. So we have wireless earbud grips, we have an entire gaming product line, and we're developing right now sports grip wraps, which we're expecting to launch toward the end of this calendar year. Our growth has been really exceptional. We hit just about $1 million in revenue on e-commerce in Q2, which was about 18% quarter-over-quarter growth. We're seeing record sales in all territories and over double what we were selling same time last year. So if we look at the competitive landscape for our products compared to our competitors in other spaces, as I mentioned, we launched with the eyewear nose pad space. So if we look at our value proposition against the eyewear, which is the column immediately to the right of the Setex column, it was, as I mentioned, dominated by these low-cost commodity import products. Things tended to be fairly cheap, but we came in with our technology. Even though we had that premium pricing, we very quickly captured about a 45% market share currently in that eyewear nose pad space. And so what we're looking to do now is execute that same playbook against other competitors. And we're doing that in the earbud space, which is the next column over. Control Freak is in the gaming space, and then Head Rawlings, Lizard Skins, etc. are in the sports grip wrap. So we're confident that by leveraging the strength of our technology and our performance and our made in the USA brand story, we'll be able to come in and capture significant market share across these other spaces as we continue to grow our business. I wanted to pause for a second and put a few customer reviews up on the market. I think it's really important to demonstrate that we have established a product market fit with our product categories right now. You can go online on Amazon and read tons more 5-star reviews from our customers, like the ones that we pulled here. But it's really gratifying, this technology that we've been working on for so long, going back to the lab, a decade ago, to actually be mass producing and solving people's needs around the world is really exciting for us as a company and for me personally, having been so long invested in this space. So looking ahead and some of our growth initiatives that we're raising our funding to help execute. We are scaling to e-commerce in China. In July, we launched on Tmall, which is the world's largest e-commerce platform with over 800 million monthly active users. And so we have our 12 best-selling products up on Amazon. Just had an update from our partners there yesterday, where we're seeing some really excellent early results in that space. So we forecast significant revenues coming from China in the next few years. We're always developing and launching new products. So just in May, we branched out from being only an eyewear accessories brand to an eyewear brand ourselves. We launched a non-prescription blue light blocking eyewear, which is a massive category on Amazon. One where if we can come in and capture 5 to 10% of that market share, we could double our business. That category is so big. We're also launching a new line of skincare products, a face scrubber, as well as the grip tape that I talked about. But we're not just a D2C brand. We also are looking at B2B partnerships where we can get our same products into the hands of our B2B partners, customers. So this quarter, we've launched 2 strategic partnerships with 2 eyewear brands, Flying Eyes and Jonas Paul, where they're either bundling our nose pads with their frames or selling us as an accessory online. And this is a model that we're getting a lot of traction from, where there's a lot of potential for growth. We're also branching out into brick and mortar retail. So leveraging the success that we're having on e-commerce, we're building a strong foundation of brokers and independent sales reps who are taking our product from e-commerce to brick and mortar as well. So there's several regional mid-sized chains for eyewear and the earbud grip product where we're expecting to see revenues beginning in Q4 this year. We have a fantastic team. Nick, who's on the line as well as our CEO. He's a serial entrepreneur and brought a lot of leadership to our team. Jon, who presented before me, is our advisor and manages our brand on Amazon. And Fred Camras at the Viper Agency manages our brand internationally in Western Europe and Asia as well, where we have had successful growth. Carlos Turbino is the manager of the marketing firm who's worked very closely with us to develop the assets behind the Sedex brand and help position us for having a strong consumer presence. On our board of directors, I want to highlight Dina Gazarian, who was the VP of sales over at Beats by Dr. Dre before they're acquired by Apple. She built a phenomenal sales network and has leveraged that in her career in other positions that she's held. And she's bringing that expertise and those connections to us as we go to brick and mortar retail as well. Our operations are highly scalable. As I mentioned, everything made right here in Western Pennsylvania. Really proud to be able to say that we're made in the USA and now sold in China, which is a literal 180 from what everyone else on the market in our categories are doing. So we're proud to be building up our regional economy, putting people to work, and also delivering fantastic products to customers around the world. I want to emphasize that our processes are very scalable. So as we forecast our growth, it's not a very capital intensive process, as many of our manufacturing steps, the molding steps specifically, are done by vendors in the area and in California. So for us, it's a matter of hiring technicians to help us with the converting and packaging and logistics processes, which we see as highly scalable. I mentioned we have a very deep IP portfolio, over 10 years of R&D in the space. So even though we are selling the product internationally, we're not worried about infringement. We have a lot of know-how and a lot of IP protection around our space. But we don't think anyone can do what we do at the cost that we can without one way or another stepping on our IP portfolio. But we are keeping all of those molding processes in-house to protect that IP, all that mold surfacing process. So looking at our 5-year forecast, right now we're right under a 5 million run rate. We think we can get there, in an upside case for 2023, growing to about a $23 million business in 2027, and we'll get there by growing our brick and mortar presence, our B2B presence, and continuing to grow on e-commerce as well. And this can be a highly profitable business. You can see what our gross margins are on the bottom left. We're talking 75 to 88% gross margin on our prime product categories. And so it allows us a lot of room to grow the business, grow the brand in these different segments, and grow the business profitably. So as we look at bringing in investment, we're looking at an opportunity where we can have significant value for our current shareholders and our future investors, and exit within the next 2 to 3 years. So I mentioned we're raising that $1 million equity round. We have a $5 million pre-money valuation target, looking to exit at 20 to 30 million in the next 2 to 3 years, and that target is based on comparable exits in the consumer product space. We think this 1 million should get us to cash flow break even. So we execute as we think we will. We may not need any additional financing before exit. Although of course those opportunities may come up if we want to pour fuel on the fire and raise more funding to build up more inventory, or pour gas on the fire for marketing purposes or so on. But with that, I'm happy to take any questions that anyone may have.
Great, Paul. Thanks, great presentation there. We had a couple of questions come in from the chat box, and then I have some myself. The first is, congrats on building an interesting company. Any trademark concerns in the sporting goods space since a competitor is using a lizard logo?
Yeah, so we haven't trademarked the gecko. It's a great question. We specifically chose our brand because there were other companies in the space that talk about lizards or geckos. So we've built our brand around the name Setex, and so we made that decision intentionally. There's other strong brands that don't necessarily relate to geckos or lizards, and so that was our reason for doing that. So we feel pretty good about the Sedex name and what we're doing there. There's a lot of brands out there that call themselves Gecko Tack or Gecko Stick or Nano Grip or Nano Stick that have no technology in them whatsoever. So we let our performance speak for ourselves, and our customers are pretty quick to realize that.
All right, the next question is, how much did the industrial business sell for? Why not use the proceeds to fund the consumer business? That way you wouldn't need outside capital. What's your comment there?
Yeah, so thank you. The industrial business is in the going through a sales process, but there are no bids on the table yet, and that hasn't closed. So we're looking at a 60-day close for that sales process. If the proceeds come in, it may mitigate the need for financing, but we don't want to depend on that. So, we'd like to bring in some extra cash so we can ramp up more quickly.
Great. And John, did you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Me? I'm sorry. No, I do not.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Anybody else in the audience has a question, please post it in there now. So Paul, we just heard a great presentation from John about dealing with AI algorithms on Amazon. What are you guys doing in that direction to improve your ranking by putting out all your value props?
Yeah, so I mean, John has been a fantastic partner for us. He's been our brand manager on Amazon since day one of us going online. So what he presented in terms of making sure our listings have not only our value proposition, so it's really clear to customers, both visually in the assets that we have out there as well as in text, so customers can understand the difference between what we're doing and why it's better than everyone else on the market, but then also making sure the keywords that are coming up the highest on search, that are the best converting keywords, are right there in the product title. They're in the bullet points on Amazon. They're in the image metadata. So all through there, we work with John to make sure that that information is coming through. We also work with John and our marketing agency in a very collaborative way. So, when we get new direction from John that, hey, this certain value proposition is not coming through visually, even though we might have it in the text, let's go shoot some new assets. Let's get some new graphics and visuals in the brand page, in the the product images. There's now premium A+ content that you can have on your Amazon product pages to really get the message consistent and across your entire product listing on Amazon. And that's, I think the results speak for themselves, going from zero presence, zero brand recognition to that 45% market share within 18 to 24 months of launch. It's just been a phenomenal growth story for us, and what's given us the confidence to scale this consumer business based on the back of performance like that.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that real quickly. 98% of customers look at reviews and ratings on Amazon before they purchase. And when we have thousands and thousands of reviews at a very high level, it also speaks to the credibility of the product. Customers, they buy it, it stays sold, they love it. Even though it's more expensive, it's still somewhat of an impulse sub $20 price point. But what's amazing about it is when we launch other products and we launch additional SKUs to the mix, you get that brand recognition. We're able to really cross-sell that across the board and go back to those same customers and really continue to build that loyalty with them. It's just amazing.
Great. Well, my next question, Paul, is you have 4 growth initiatives up there. If you had to prioritize them, are they all going to be giving an even the same amount of growth to the business, or is one going to outweigh the others? And which one do you think is going to be the key driver?
Yeah, I think the key short-term driver is on the retail side. I mean, we've had so much success on e-commerce. We've done a great job growing the brand, especially the eyewear space there. And we know there's a fantastic product market fit for our eyewear product line. And everywhere where eyewear accessories are sold, lens cleaning sprays, microfiber cloths, we think our nose pads should be right there because we know how many customers love our product. So that I think is the lowest hanging fruit for us and going to drive the most growth in the next 1 to 2 years. But international growth in China and the B2B opportunity, there's a lot of upside there. So I think, in the out years, that could really be driving the business as well.
And my next question to Paul and John is, as you go into China and the e-commerce world there, are you able to leverage some of your same tools that you do with AI on Amazon as you will there, or is it going to be a completely different game? I guess another question is, where are they with AI on their e-commerce platform?
Yeah, I can answer what we're doing as a company, and then John can piggyback off that. So we have a brand manager, a partner in China, and so we very humbly are not experts on Tmall and their algorithm, So we've engaged with an agency overseas there that has handled everything for us, from the brand presence and positioning to logistics. Basically we had the inventory picked up by their logistics partner. It's in a warehouse now in a free trade zone in China, and being sold directly to the Chinese market. So we're learning a ton as we go, much like we did when we launched with Jon. I don't know to what extent their algorithms or their back end is different from Amazon, though. So I don't know if Jon wants to add to that.
Yeah, no, I do not know that, and I don't want to speak out of turn on that. I do know that in our early conversations with them, again, it's the same process. What is the value proposition? I think even more so in that market, they care more about the technology. They care more about how it's made, the solution, and because it is Western, sounds odd, but they give it a high level of credibility. The consumer does anyway. So we'll have to see, but we have pretty high hopes for it.
I got you. Thanks for that. And then you talk about the new product launches coming out. Are these, which of these do you think are going to be the big blockbusters for you?
So I mean, I think the blue light blocking is the least risky. It's got the highest potential, I think, in terms of the near-term revenue that we can bring in, and there's no technical risk. That product has already launched. We've sourced these frames to our specification from a plant in China, so we're not making our own frames, but we are kitting them with our nose pads, which is one way that we're differentiating in the space. So the reviews on our first frames that we've sold have been fantastic. It's actually probably our highest rated product. So as we, Jon alluded to turning the flywheel, we're just starting, we're getting those good reviews in, we're converting on our ad spend. So that's starting to turn, and that's got a lot of potential. Skincare and the grip tape, I think, also have a huge amount of potential, so I don't want to downplay those, but there remains implementation risk on the grip tape. There's still some technical risk to get that product to market, although actually today our R&D team is doing a pilot with our molding partner in Ohio, and I've got some pictures, and it's looking fantastic. So we should be proceeding to user testing soon, and then hopefully getting that to launch. So definitely a lot of upside, although those products aren't out of the woods yet from a technical development standpoint.
Great. Well, thanks, Paul. We're at the end of our time here. I want to thank you for your presentation, and want to thank.
Can I just say something? I just want to, before you sign off, I just wanted to thank Jon for coming on this webcast, and also Paul for doing a great job. I did want to just mention that we are, raising $1 million, and we're soliciting interest right now, specifically to this question that came about selling the industrial business. We're in the process of doing that, but in parallel, we want to line up investors for $1 million investment. So if there's anybody who's listening in on this, who's interested in what we're doing, please let us know as we, line up the investors for this round.
Great. Thanks, Nick. And thanks, Jon, for your presentation as well. And for the audience, thank you guys for asking good questions. With that, we'll go and wrap it up today, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.